Okay, so for this week's homework, we want to do a kind of a simple exercise to improve a bit our understanding of this off-chain and on-chain stuff. So what's the task here? So there's two validators that are provided in the repository. This is this homework1.py, homework2.py files. And then for each of them, we ask you to basically, so this is already a finished implementation of the validators, and we would ask you to just understand what it's doing, like all of the commands, the components of it you've seen in previous lectures, so it should be fine. And then in the second step, you would try to write the off-chain code in PyCardano, or also if you have another framework that you prefer, you can try that as well. But yeah, I think for the PyCardano one, you've also seen the necessary methods in previous lectures. And yeah, just let me briefly show it. So the first one, okay, you see there's some validator that gets a datum, redeemer, and context, and then the datum has some different information here, some pub key hashes for different beneficiaries and a deadline, and then there's some conditions that are being checked. I think it should be somewhat clear how to figure out what this is doing. And then actually the second one is somewhat similar, like there's also a beneficiary and a deadline and some checks about this. I think the key difference to be aware of is actually that here, okay, you can see the validator has 3 parameters, so the datum, redeemer, and context. So here actually this beneficiary keys and the deadline are all contained in the datum, whereas in the second one the validator has 4 parameters, so beneficiary and deadline here are separate. So what does it mean? So this is what we also call a parameterized contract. So actually only the deadline here is the datum. So the beneficiary is not contained in the datum, and it's just a parameter of the contract. So actually every time you have a different beneficiary, you sort of hard code it into a contract. So for every beneficiary, the contract itself will be a different one. And this somewhat affects also how the off-chain code will look like. So I think this is kind of also the main idea, to understand a bit the difference between putting parameters into the datum versus having them as a parameter of the contract itself. Okay, and then I hope this helps you understand the content a bit better, and then I will see you in week 5.